Hello and welcome to your longest running Australian pro wrestling podcast, Wrestle Radio Australia. My name is Lachlan Albert and I'm joined today by a former WWE Cruiserweight champion, a former AEW Trios champion, among other things, and a multi-time MCW World Heavyweight champion. It's the man himself, Buddy Matthews. Buddy.
You missed a lot.
Amongst other things, there's a big list.
Amongst other things?
There's only so much time we can record.
NXT Tag Team Champions. Cruiserweight Champion. Raw Tag Team Champion with Seth Rollins, right? You can't forget about that. The Trios Champion. Maybe I'm forgetting some. There's got to be more, right?
Sure.
There's probably. It has to be. It has to be.
It's a long list.
I got to look at my office. I got them all there.
Yeah, that's the way. Look, we're here because obviously we're getting very close to February 15th. Brisbane Entertainment Centre, AEW Grand Slam Brisbane is coming up. A hometown return for you or home country return for you.
Yeah.
What do you think the feeling is going to be like? Because last time you had one of those big internationally broadcasted shows, it was in Melbourne, in your home city. What's it going to be like working for a new international company and coming back to Australia?
Well, I feel like going back to that one in 2018, which you're referring to, it wasn't meant to be about me. It just became about
you
because of the performance that we put on, and obviously Australia getting behind their own. But I feel like it's going to be the same. It just depends on what the whatever situation I'm put into when it comes to the performance here. But I think that I can strongly say that I haven't had a bad performance. Well, for the most part. They're bad to me. They're bad performances for me. But for the most part, everyone's very positive on my performances. So I don't see this being any less. And then obviously being in Australia, I'll amp it up a little bit. And that means, we're going to do some war paint. We'll get the new gear. We'll bring the Wembley feel that we normally do as the House of Black. So, but yeah, we don't know the situation that I'm going to be put in, whether it be singles, tag, trios. But that, there's not a bad money match.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, I'm blowing smoke up my own, gimmick, but, I feel very confident with that. So just putting it in Australia will just be just more fire under me.
And look, we know that you're going to be the most self-critical when it comes to your work, but we've seen some incredible stuff from you. And speaking of coming back to the hometown, MCW Endgame is this weekend that we're building up towards. Only a few days away as we record. The champ himself, Nick Armstrong, has said some words.
I'm seeing that he's calling me out. I didn't think that he was there anymore. But I'm scheduled to make an appearance, but who is he? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Is you really going to say something to get under my skin? But calling himself a champ, I don't know what titles he's ever held.
No, and after that list of accolades we spoke about for you,
exactly. How many star ratings has he got? You know what I mean? We'll head down to Endgame on Sunday. I'll make an appearance. But if I'm not gonna lie, if he steps in, if he gets in my way, there's no one that I am scared of. There's no one that I'm not willing to put in their place. It could be MJF himself. I'll put him in his place. So at this moment, I am not even thinking about Nick. Whatever is something strong, whatever it is. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Look, speaking of willing to get in and get dirty with anyone, I know that we had Kyle Fletcher on the podcast just the other week, and he mentioned that you two, both the Aussie talents, have never even shown up on screen together. He mentioned he would like to get a piece of you and show off how good that match could be. Is there anyone that you're thinking of where you're going, that's a match I'd really like to show off?
I think me and Kyle's good. I was actually asked this question before too. I just feel like that as much as Kyle has that, he's on that way up, and he's done some great stuff, but he's new to the spotlight. I have experiences that he hasn't even imagined. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've wrestled in front of 80, 90,000 people. I have done everything. I've held championships. I've wrestled in a pandemic. I have wrestled what's he call himself? The OTC? I've wrestled them. You know what I mean? I've been in the ring with the absolute best. I've wrestled the best in the world. CM Punk. So that reference, but I've wrestled them all, and he's only new to this new spotlight. So yeah, like I'm more than, we can do that here. You want Kyle versus? I'm happy to do that. But at the end of the day, like, my experience will trump him. You know what I mean? As much as he is on that way up, I'm happy to derail it.
Excellent. Well, let's quickly talk about the House of Black. Obviously, you guys have been trios champs there. It's been mentioned a few times that you can sometimes be seen as a bit of an outlier of the House of Black, where we've got that strong black metal influence and you're coming through a bit more clean cut. Do you see your future sticking with the House of Black long term?
So, you're looking at the exterior, right? And you're seeing what you see on, like, my whole leg's tattooed, you know what I mean? You just don't see it. Do I have as much as them? No. Do I have a badder attitude than them? Yes. Do I bring a more physical aspect to the house? Yes. I am the 5'11" juggernaut. I am the 5'11" powerhouse of that group. Malachi does his thing. He's the architect of it all. He puts it together. He puts the game plan. He gets in people's heads. We have Brody, who is a powerhouse, but he ain't me, right? We complement each other in so many different ways, and there isn't a trio that I believe that work as good as us, right? We beat the elite. We beat the elite of the elites. We beat Kenny and the Bucks. The trios titles were made for that group, and we took the titles off them. So, yeah, we are probably the greatest trio. So leaving and disbanding, like, we might go on excursions, left, right, and center, maybe some singles, some tags, but disbanding and breaking up, I don't think that it's, to me, it's not on the cards. So,
love to hear it.
Yeah, I feel like we have such a unique package. When you kind of, on the other side, we have such a unique package from what we deliver. We bring such a physicality. We bring such an aura, a presence, just a package in general that no one else in AEW offer.
Absolutely. Now, while we're speculating about the future, I know that there's often speculation about contracts, speculation about where people might end up. I know that comes up a lot in terms of your career. And do those conversations put a chip on your shoulder? Do they get in your head when it comes to performance? Like, what does that constant discussion do to your mentality?
I need to know what you're referring to, though. Like, what's the talk?
Sure. So
more context, please.
Sure. There's lots of conversations about when people's contracts are ending, specifically, this person's contract is up in a little while.
Okay.
And I've heard some people discuss the fact that they feel you might be WWE bound at some point in the future.
Okay.
Right. When that's happening, like, how does that kind of affect the performance side of things?
It doesn't impact anything. It's anything that is on Twitter, or what's it called now? X. I don't
X
even use
everything
it.
out.
It's just called negative to me. Like, there is nothing positive on that. It's just where people can honestly feel better about themselves. It doesn't do anything positive in the world, and this is my perception of it. So the ideas of listening to people talk contracts and think, you can speculate, but when you're putting it on a forum to try and generate either a negative, because it's a negative, you're trying to generate a negative reaction regardless, because it's not ever put in a positive way. But you're trying to get people on your side. So it doesn't affect me because I don't even look at it. The performance doesn't affect that because I have a job that needs to be done. So the speculation is fine, but it doesn't affect me. I guess it's a long thing. But yeah, I needed to get that thing out, that what people say and how they determine it and what they want to put out, that doesn't, like, it's in one ear, out the other. It's not even in the ear. It's look and move past. It's, yeah, I feel like a lot of people on Twitter think that they have enough power and they're trying to generate a reaction.
Yeah.
But to be fair, none of us give a shit.
Amen.
None of us give a shit.
Look, we are.
I don't know about swear. I feel like it needs
Go for
that.
it. Go
needs
for it.
that. No one gives a shit.
Look, we're Wrestle Radio Australia, so we want to talk a bit about the Aussie scene. Obviously, we've mentioned you'll be at MCW Endgame this weekend. Is there any, other than yourself, Aussie talent, especially around that MCW area, that you see big things for in the near future?
So, I've been out of it for a little bit now, so I don't have my fingers on the pulse like I used to. But I feel like the Pariah have something unique. They definitely have a personality, and I'm obviously very close with them. So I've worked with them in the ring when they came over to visit, and they got a lot to learn. They do have a lot to learn, and I feel like they realised they had a lot to learn by being in there with me. But that's the thing about Australian wrestling, is that, like, if we're gonna be honest, it's a bubble, right? And like, the wrestling world is a bubble. Like, I'm in a bubble. I'm in an AEW bubble. There's a WWE bubble. There's a pro wrestling bubble, but the rest of the world aren't in that bubble. So what we think that affects us in our bubble, when you take a step out, you realise that it's so insignificant. And there's a lot of times, like when I'm waiting at the airport, waiting to get picked up to go to the airport, I'll just stare at the stars and just be like, I say this to the wife all the time, I just look at the stars and go, we are so insignificant, right? Like, you just look at it and you go, there's all of that, and here I am worrying about what blah 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 says or whatever. So, but going back to, we're all in these little bubbles. So when these little bubbles of 100 people are like, you're this, you're this, you're this, that outside of that bubble, no one knows, right? And I feel like that's what they had by being in the ring with, and like Australian wrestling is very much like that. It's like, you haven't learned, you haven't been out there, you haven't been in the ring and had that experience with someone that has done it, right? And trust me, I learn to this day on every performance on what I should have done, and I pick everything apart. If I watch a match, there's some matches I can't even watch back, right? But I have to, as a person that is such a detailed artist, that I need to review it and see what I would do differently, because that's what it is. It's an art. We're listening to audiences, we're telling stories, we're doing acrobatics, we're doing stunts, we're doing it all in one live shot. So I'm not naive to know that I know everything, because I don't, but I know more than most, right? And I've learned from the best, like I said before. So when those guys came over, they really got to see things the way that I see things, and I think it really opened their mind up, and they really went out, came back, and were like, oh shit, I don't know anything, right? When in that bubble, they were told that they were the best, right? So that's my biggest thing to Australian wrestlers and inspiring wrestlers and whatever, is that step outside that bubble and realise that that bubble is just so small. And yes, it's your world and whatever like that, but just step outside of it and look at the bigger picture. Because when you do that, you're opening your mind. I call it like the Limitless. You know the movie Limitless, where he takes the pill and
Pill that expands the mind, that's it.
That is, in my opinion, what we need to do when it comes to pro wrestling. Is just think outside the box. Think completely different. Think about what everyone else is going to do on that show, but what can you do to stand out a little bit? And I feel like with my performances, I'll find one little thing to do in that match which will go, oh, that's different, right? Whether it's an injury angle or or me coughing up blood, and if I can make people believe for a second, just a second, go, oh, like, no, that got him. No, that's fake. No, yeah, I know, but I think that one got him, or he's hurt. No, he's not hurt. No, he's hurt. Like, see, he's not. That's what I'm good at, and that's what I lean into. So it's just taking that, what we all do, because we all know how to do the moves, think outside that fucking box, and then think outside the box for the wrestling psychology, but then think outside that bubble of how we all don't know anything. Does that make sense?
It does.
I'm just going down a massive, like, psychological thing. Like,
well, this is fantastic.
No, but that's the thing. It's just stepping outside that bubble. But going back to your original question, which was who do I think?
We took a journey there.
But yeah. But the Prayer are good, but they do need to work on a lot of stuff. And that was the thing. When we did work together, they realised that they do know nothing. So that being said, that's why I kind of like coming to these MCW shows, and doing, and like, ask, like, when people come and ask me something, like, well, what could I do? How could I get this thing? By me just trying to explain something in a way that I might say it 4 or 5 different times, 5 different ways, and they might understand one, because that's how I understood. They say the same thing, I might understand one and go, that's where it went off. So it's just doing that. Have a objective and try and figure out how to get to that no matter what, because you have the matches, the moves, you have the time. That time and the moves are to navigate to that emotion. So how are we going to get that emotion? Whether it's laugh, cry, sad, happy, whatever emotion that you're trying to get from that performance, navigate to get to it. Don't just do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but no one gives a shit.
Amen. Love.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So, look. Big things from Theseus and Eros. Keep an eye out on them.
They're good, but they're got to learn. And then, like, Adam Brooks is very good. He's technically very good, but needs to step outside that bubble. He has to be different, and he's aware of it. He's starting to see it. But, like, I feel like he had that match with Will Ospreay, and that was like his breakout moment. But then he had that same match with everyone, right? And he just replaces, like, Will Ospreay's moves with everyone else, whatever that wrestler was. And it got to the point, and it went through with the Prayer too. They go, oh, watch this match. By match 2, I was already calling the match. How did you know that? You've done 5 of them.
Yeah.
All your matches are the same. And then that's one of those things you have to kind of break down and go, oh, they, like, even though you're doing it in different areas, like someone like yourself has seen a lot of it, you're watching it, you can already tell because you've watched it all. So you just change one little thing, change the dynamic, go for the same thing, but then do the twist on it.
And you're exactly right about getting out of the bubble, right? Like, Brooksy, for instance, had a match with Moose fairly recently. And
Did
you
he?
can see,
Moose?
Yeah, Moose from TNA.
When was this?
This was at OPW in Ballarat a few months back.
There you go. I'm not even aware.
And you can see that getting out of that bubble, working with someone from a totally different space, can really change the way that flows, and it affects the wrestling there. So, I mean, that's just to back up exactly what you're saying.
But moments, right?
It.
How do I, like, my new big thing is, how do I get the most out of the squeeze? How do I get more juice from the squeeze? So how do I seem like I'm doing a lot more by doing less, right? And you'll see I do it in a lot of my matches, whether it's because I obviously very explosive and whatever. So I need a way to slow myself down, right? So there could be me, like, I always sell something, or rather than taking like a 3 clothesline bump and feed like everyone else does, I can give you one thing to level me and I'll sell it. Just let me eat shit on it and I'll make it look so good, and then we can go straight into fucking false finishes. And that's what I do. That's why my matches are a little bit different. Like, give me something big enough for me to sell for my size, and it's believable. So we don't need to get up 3 times and give me 3 things that no one's going to talk about. Bumps hurt, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather take a spike DDT than 3 clotheslines. You know what I mean? One feels a lot better.
Mattress.
Yeah. It's one of these things, just getting more juice from the squeeze, and that's like my new thing.
Absolutely.
Get more out of less.
So I don't want to take up too much of your
No.
day, but as we've said, MCW Endgame coming up this weekend, and then on February 15th, you're back here in Brisbane Entertainment Centre for AEW Grand Slam Brisbane. Tickets on sale now. That's going to be a big moment. Like we said, moments, that's the big AEW Australian show. Where do you hope that takes the international feel of AEW going forward? Like, do you see this as the start of an AEW explosion within Australia?
Yes, like I'm not too familiar because I know we've just started to recently get on ESPN and whatnot. So the steps are happening, but it's a baby company. It's 5 years old. Like, you know, it's not like the other company where it's got the backing. You know what I mean? Like, you have to remember, like, back in the day when I started watching, it was on Fox Sports, on Fox Television. The only way you could watch it at 8:30 on a Tuesday. So, like, obviously times are different. Streaming's more available, so it's becoming more available to more people. But there's so much more to compete with now. It's not wrestling's wrestling. You have to compete with Netflix now. You have to compete with movies, with YouTube, people creating stuff. Content creating has just become so big that it is all competition for people's attention, right? Technically, you are competition with this radio interview is competing against WWE, against the movies, against Dexter, because it's taking people's attention.
Every second of time someone's ingesting something, they're not doing anything else.
Exactly. And like, you know, sitting doing like TikTok, it's so much now. It's not that one show on at this time. Like, it's overly saturated, which is a good thing, but yet a bad thing because it becomes too accessible. And when something becomes too accessible, it needs to move faster because you get bored of it. And I could say, like, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Toy Story.
Toy Story, okay. If I said, watch Toy Story every Monday, right? How many times could you watch Toy Story?
There's a number of times before it's the same thing every time.
Exactly. So stuff needs to change. But imagine you had to watch that every Monday, but then all your feed on Instagram was just Toy Story. You'd be like, oh, I'm so sick of seeing Woody. And Buzz turns
buzzing.
You know what I mean?
It's
Yeah. Like, you know, you become numb to it. And that's the thing. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. So it's how do you navigate that and do enough to generate people to tune in and watch something. And that's another thing. It's on television, yeah, but if I miss it, who cares? I can watch the thing on Instagram. I can see the best parts on YouTube. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit there but if I want to watch a movie, I have to watch the whole thing to get that end, right? Or you get it on DVD and, you know, whatever. But, you know, if you're really invested, you'll go to the movies and watch it, right? And you'll sit there and you popcorn, you'll be excited and all that.
And with the way you're doing something different every time and then leading to something bigger next time, always exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Buddy, thank you so much for your time. Catch you next time.
No worries. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.